Mr. Freddie Spencer. It's a great pleasure for me to meet you here in Austria, in Schwanenstadt. Have you ever been here?
No. The only time that I've been to Austria is for the Austrian Grand Prix at Salzburg. And so really the last time that I was in Austria was in May of 1986. Yeah, for the Austrian Grand Prix. And so it's been a while. So it's always a pleasure for me. Obviously 86, the last time was riding a Honda. But it's one of my favorite countries. And I tell you why. It's because the first time I came to Austria was in May of 82 for my first European Grand Prix with the new HRC team. And I remember just the reception from all the Austrian fans and the enthusiasm in Salzburg. What a beautiful setting, a very unusual track. And so I just had, even though in the race, the 82 race, I didn't finish, but I still had a great experience.
It's wonderful. Of course, I would like to know a lot, but some guys really asked me to ask you, why did you stop your career in 1986?
Well, as I've actually talked many times, is my wrist problems, and it was just never the same. And in some respects, really after 1985, it just was not the same. And I had operations on my wrist and on my neck both, and I lost really the strength in my right arm is what would happen. And my arm would collapse under braking. And so the Spanish Grand Prix in 86, I was leading, and with about 11-second lead. And I came in because I lost all the feeling and strength in my right hand and arm, and I couldn't squeeze the brake. And so it was just an unfortunate thing. But it's like I've always said, is you can look at life as the disappointments, you can look at life at the blessings. And for me, the opportunity to win world championships and races and really 19 great years of racing, leading up to the issues I had beginning in 86. So I really can't complain. But I love riding. I love doing these events, and I think it's really important.
Which motorcycle in your career, which racing motorcycle did you impress most?
Well, for sure, the 1985 NSR 500. Along with the 250 from 85, the NSR 250, but really the 85 500. And the reason why we had the year before, the first V4 was with the gas tank on the bottom and the pipes over the top, and it really it was one of those bikes that either worked or it didn't, and we had a lot of problems, and so they went to the more conventional, setup beginning in 1985, and that foundation of that bike is what really pushed along the success all the way up through 2001 of the NSR 500. You look at basically 16 years of 13 championships in 16 years. And so it was an incredible bike, and I was kind of there on the ground floor with the original development, and we just started off and we worked hard and we made a good bike from the beginning.
What was the biggest moment in your racing career? Is there one?
Well, it was a moment that was not on the racetrack. It was a moment that I walked into Mr. Honda's home and sat on a Wednesday afternoon in September of 1983. And it was actually September 7th, to be exact, 1983. And it was that Wednesday after I won the championship on Sunday at Imola on September 4th. And the reason why is because I've always, racing and winning is one thing, and I feel very privileged. But the real privilege for me is the opportunities I've been given to share with people and help them not only with my dreams but with theirs. And so when I walked into Mr. Honda's home that day on Wednesday, and he put his hands up on my shoulders and he said, "Domo arigato," he said, "Thank you." it was that dream because he had always wanted to win the 500 World Championship. And so to share that with him, to me, was much more important than any race win. And so to share the moments with my dad when I was a kid, and that's what makes these events so important, right? Is that, and I have always appreciated that, even through the good times and the struggles, is that it's really what we share through motorcycling and the human aspect that matters the most to me. The winning is great, but if you did that alone, it means nothing, you know?
Great. It's a team.
It is, yeah.
Wonderful. And maybe just short, what was the worst moment in motorcycle racing for you?
Well, probably sure that day in Spain in May of '86, you know, when I was leading after, you know, working all winter. I was in the best shape of my career. Yeah. Really, I was even in better shape in the beginning of '86 than I was at the end of '85. And it'd been a hard winter because my problems with my hand. I didn't ride a motorcycle for 8 months. And then to come back, and I've always been one that really trusts feelings, you know, and so I kind of felt that moment that it was maybe all over, and it kind of was, you know, and I went through 10 years where I should have, you know, that should have retired then, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. It's always easier to look back, but that's what life is, you know. You have great moments and you learn, and some of the things, you know, makes you stronger, and you move on, and like I said, all these years later, to be able to come and share it with everyone here in Austria and different places, and you feel that connection. You know, we're all human. We all do well and we all make mistakes. You know, but for sure that day was probably really the toughest from the standpoint of that. I kind of felt it was over, and it was. You know.
I can understand. I tried to understand, but I really, as you told the first time, I got the impression it must have been really a cruel moment.
Yeah, it was hard. Well, because, you know, racing has always been just something very natural to me.
Yeah.
And so even that day, even though I hadn't ridden a motorcycle up until that Friday to start the first Grand Prix, I didn't test or nothing for 8 months. I go out, I get pole position, new lap record, first day. So riding has always been very easy. Not easy because I work hard. You know, I worked hard in my yard. I rode 5 hours a day when I was a kid, 5 days a week, no matter the rain, snow, cold. My mom I'd dress in jackets. I'd be so cold I couldn't even feel my hands. But so riding is, you know, I worked hard and combined with a natural ability, you know, so those two together, you know, gave me these incredible opportunities. But, you know, that's what life is, right? That day it was gone, you know, just, you never know.
In the presence, American riders, because American riders always were in Europe big heroes because of their style and their feeling. But nowadays it seems to be more difficult for American riders to perform in the highest classes, I guess due to the electronics.
I'm not sure it's about electronics, because electronics is the same for everybody. I think it's more complicated than that, and this is reason why. Is when you look at the opportunities for young riders in the U.S., it's very few. And so you only have a few riders that make it to the top level. And if you look at how many of those make it to the very elite level, it's always a small group. I mean, look at the very top level of MotoGP. There's 4 guys, you know, of course, Mark, Jorge, Danny, and Valentino. And so basically it's those 4. But look how many races are in the world. So the problem in the U.S. is that when I came along, there was so much opportunity. We had so much club racing. We had support. You know, I know I'd race flat track racing Friday, Saturday night, road racing Saturdays and Sundays, same weekend. Nowadays, there's very few races. There's not a lot of support at the very basic level. So like I said, instead of 1,000 riders getting an opportunity, and you narrow that down to maybe only 50 that make it to the top of the professional level in the U.S., and then out of that 50, you may get 4 or 5 that can go to the world level. Now it's 10% of that. And so you're lucky to find one good rider, you know, because it's just not that easy at the top level. You're racing against they're smart at the top levels, talented, driven, drive, all of these things. So I think it's a fundamental problem of just the lack of support of motorcycle racing due to economics, due to opportunities at the very basic level. And so until that can change, it's going to be difficult to bring along a group like you saw in the late 70s and 80s with us, that we kind of made it to the very top, and then you get a chance. And sometimes it just runs in cycles like that, where you get a group. Right now with the Spanish, they have an incredible farm system. The other thing that's happened is everybody is kind of, you look at Mark's a great dirt track rider. He practices sliding, and so I think it's as much the fundamental issue of the support system lacking in the U.S. And until that changes, it's going to be, you may get one that comes along once in a generation,
And your heart is still for motorcycle racing?
Well, my heart is motorcycling. One of the great things I get to do is to go along and, like I said, do these classic events and to share, motorcycling. I think what's important about these events is it shows the tradition of the sport, not only the race bikes, but the manufacturers, the collectors that come along with the passion that provide, like these are two beautiful bikes. This is my 1983 bike I won at Daytona. This bike, RC30, I rode my first time back in Amy Sue bike in 1990.
How was the feeling to ride?
Oh, it's great.
Now?
It's great. It's just like I'd been on it yesterday for me. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I did the development work for that bike.
Like 30 years ago.
Oh yeah.
You just feel the same.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. For me, because riding, that's the great thing about riding a motorcycle, and that's why I said it's about motorcycling. And I have a school in Paul Ricard. At the circuit there that I work with 4G. I get to, like I said, do these classic events and appearances. And for me, it's just a real privilege to go around sharing motorcycling and what we share through motorcycling.
Mr. Spencer, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And I hope you win today.
Oh, yeah. It's all for fun. Yeah.